Hi there and welcome to this video where I'm joined by Christopher Carvalho.
Hi there.
So in this video, Christopher's going to be talking about what artists should be doing in 2021. So Christopher, what's the first thing you recommend that artists should be doing in this day and age?
Okay, so my first thing, Thomas, is learn a bit of everything. So what I mean by that is, obviously, as an artist or a producer, you're probably really good at a handful of things, right? You might be a songwriter, or you might be an artist, or you might just be really good at production. You might specialize in one or two things. However, that doesn't mean, in my opinion, it doesn't mean you get to have zero knowledge on everything else, right? It means that you get to have general, broad knowledge on everything else, because everything else still impacts you, right? So if you're an artist or a producer and you're working with other people, maybe you're working in the industry or what have you, you still need to speak the same language as everyone else does. You still need to understand where everyone else is coming from. You also need to understand how you fit in an entire process and have an understanding for that process.
Sure. However, you don't want to be a jack of all trades and master of none. You still need to specialize in certain things.
100%. But, for example, I don't think that you can be a very good mixing engineer if you have no idea how the mastering process looks like. Because you've got to deliver the mix, right? You can't be a great producer if you have no empathy for what an artist is trying to do, because you're trying to produce their song, right? So you've got to have, a producer should have some understanding of the songwriting process, just so that they can collaborate and speak the language of the artist that they're working with.
Yeah, one thing I see all the time is singer-songwriters that don't know how to produce, and they end up hiring producers when they should just learn how to use a DAW, really. At least the basics.
100%.
So the next point we've got here is learn the business. So what do you mean by that, Christopher?
Okay, cool. So when you're making music, you are participating in a business of some sort, right? When you create a piece of music, you legally own that. That's copyright. And if you want to, or if someone wants to use that piece of music for some other purpose, that's some business purpose, you need to understand that, right? You need to understand what kind of exchange of value is happening there, so that you need to understand what kind of exchange of value is happening there. So having a broad understanding of the music business is really, really useful. It might not be your passion to want to be a manager or an entertainment lawyer or an accountant, but you should have a top level kind of understanding of those business principles. You can buy good books on this. There's one from Donald Passman, Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business. And he goes through things like copyright and publishing and record deals and stuff like that. You're not going to be an expert in any of these, kind of like my previous point, but you should understand how that stuff works, because if and when an opportunity does come along, you know how to go into that deal and you know how to have those conversations.
So the next point, which is similar to the last one, is protect your interests. So could you elaborate on that, please, Christopher?
Yeah, so it is a similar point, but it's just understanding that, for example, when you write a song, right? So let's say you literally write something down, right? You might be writing down some lyrics, or you might be recording, you might be kind of hashing it out in Logic Pro or whatever. The moment you record something, you own something, and that something has value. We might all disagree or agree to the subjective value of that, but you definitely own something of value the moment you record something. That's copyright. Okay, so the moment you record something, you own a piece of copyright. And if you are pursuing music as a venture, or even if you're not actually, you own something, right? And you should understand what ownership means. You should understand what rights you are entitled to the moment you do put that thing down, because the second you do, the law is literally protecting you, and you should understand what those rights are And those rights are copyrights, right? Your inherent right to copy and distribute your art, basically.
So, do you have any books or resources that you could recommend for to people that might want to learn some of this stuff?
Yeah, Donald Passman's book again. Like that book is, a lot of people have said it's the Bible for music business, for sure. I mean, I don't have any allegiance with him at all, but it is a good book.
And what's the name of it again?
Donald Passman's Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business. He's a music lawyer, entertainment lawyer.
And the next point is help others.
Yeah, right. So if you're pursuing music as a career, as a business, your business is going to be predicated on serving others in some form or another, right? And if you're unsure about exactly what your service is or what value you'll be bringing to the market, then you got to test it, right? You got to go out there and you got to help people. You got to figure out what they need help with and what their problems are so that you can create something of value and become a component in the business of music, if that makes sense.
Well, yeah, that's the best way to collaborate with people, is help them out with something. Maybe they might want the song mixed, or you might want to play an instrumental part on their song, and then you can always get contacts that way just by helping people, really.
Exactly. Expand your network doing that, right?
The next point you've got here is embed yourself into the community. Could you please explain that?
Yeah, sure. So kind of a similar point. But the good thing is that these days it's quite easy to do that from home, right? Because we have the internet, we have social media. I mean, I know that both of us were very, very good at that in the beginning, in like forums and Facebook groups and stuff like that. Like I've spent so much time just answering questions, answering people's questions, whether it be about Logic or production, audio, the music business, because every time that I did that, every time that I answered a question for some random person, whether that be in real life or on an online forum in some way, I've created an impression on someone and I've built trust in that person, and I've become a part of the community, and that all helps build the long tail of this stuff, right? So yeah, just embed yourself into the community, become someone, you might want to become someone who's known for just being helpful and being a nice person, but you can't do that unless you put something up front, really, like unless you do something ahead of any return that you might get on doing that.
Well, yeah, that's how we met each other. I was on the Facebook groups, and we've
Exactly.
collaborated on a number of different projects now, and we just met by answering people's questions on Facebook groups. It seems pretty crazy.
Exactly. 100%.
And the next point is invest in and bet on yourself. What do you mean by this?
So what I mean by investing and betting on yourself is just learning, developing yourself, learning the business like we've talked about, learning how to protect your interests like we talked about, and basically all of the above points. Like you're never gonna lose, you're never gonna waste when you're just betting on yourself and when you're developing on yourself. Learn everything. Don't have to be an expert on everything, but every time that you do learn something, you're better off, basically.
Yeah, there is certain things I do recommend people learn how to do. One is build a website.
Yeah.
You do get website builders that can really help you. But yeah, whatever industry you're in, you really need to have a website or some kind of social media presence.
Indeed.
There's a lot of things you can study up and learn on that. I don't recommend coding the website yourself, but at least learning like the basics of WordPress can really help.
100%. I mean, as well, like, because it's increasingly more realistic to do a bit of everything yourself, because all of these things are way easier than they used to be, right? To build a website, you actually had to be a web developer. Now you don't have to be a web developer to make a good enough website, right? For yourself as an artist or producer, and every time that you do that, not only do you save money on hiring someone else to do it, but if and when you do hire someone else to do it, you can speak their language a little bit, right? It's just that collaboration is just going to be that little bit easier. You're going to be able to more easily communicate to them what you want in your website, which might be the second or third version of your website. And the first version of your website was the one that you built.
Exactly. Well, we've got all these tools nowadays. smartphone, for example, the DAWs on laptops. Yeah, there's so many useful tools that are affordable compared to quite a few years ago. Yeah, so
I agree.
cool. Any other final thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, so just basically to summarize, like, understand a bit of everything. Like, everything that you learn in music business or music production or broader than that, entertainment, content, media, they're all just kind of concepts, really. They're all just kind of ideas. And even if you just install those basic concepts and principles in your brain without having to go to the layer underneath them, which is much deeper and the field of someone else, you're going to be better off, right? You're just going to understand where you fit in the entire mix of the business or the industry. And it will just make your life a bit better and a bit easier, and probably save you some money and save you some headache along the way.
Awesome. So thanks for joining me on this video, Christopher.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.